Hi, welcome to the very last module of this introductory to Python programming. I hope you've enjoyed the last modules and I hope that, what you have seen so far has gotten you comfortable to embrace Python programming. Like I always say, Python does not bite and it's one of the easiest language to learn. So I hope you've had fun and I hope you've started thinking about your why and how you can improve your skills. In this last module, we're going to talk about control flow. So what is control flow? Before I go into relating or talking about what control flow is in Python, I'm going to start with a typical day of mine. So let's say I wake up in the morning and the way I want to put the flow of my program is that when I'm going out, I actually want to first of all check the weather and I say, okay, if the weather looks like it's going to rain today, if the weather forecast says it's going to rain, then I'm just going to stay at home, do some Netflix, chill, make some soup to keep myself warm, and that will be what my day is about. But let's say I've added some condition and say, however, if the weather forecast says it's going to be sunny, then I'm just going to go out because I really like gelato. I'm going to have some gelato. I'm going to sit just in the cafe and just enjoy my day outside. Now that is control flow because I have set some conditions to how my day is going to go based on certain criteria. For example, the criteria here is the weather. Bringing that to my Python code or bringing that to Python programming, the control flow is basically the order that your code runs. So in Python, the code will usually run from the first line of your code to the last line. However, sometimes we need some control flow. So let's give a typical example. If you're trying to log into Facebook, a control flow that I can tell you runs behind the algorithm that logs into Facebook is something like this. A user comes, they type in their password and their username, and when they click login, the control flow, the program starts, and the control flow will go like this. If the username is correct and it matches the password that the user has set, then log them in. So there is a conditional statement. When the criteria for that conditional statement is fulfilled, log the person in and show them the home page. Otherwise, if there is a mismatch in the username and the password, refresh the page and let the user know that they've input the wrong details and they need to put the right details. There is under that same control flow that takes you to the password error page. There is also another control flow as a button that says, okay, in case you don't remember, reset the password. And when you click on the password, another chain of control flow goes ahead. Like, okay, send maybe, a verification link or a recent link to their email. If they click it, take them to a page. When they get to that same page, then it says, these are the criteria that the new password should follow. If it does not follow it, remind them that this is what the password sequence should look like. Otherwise, if it follows it, log them in and, bring them to their homepage. So that is control flow. Control flow is basically, the order in which we control our code, basically. Now, there are three patterns to control flow. There is the sequential, which is the default pattern. I'll explain that. There is the selection or decision control for decisions and branching. This is slightly related to the one I mentioned with the Facebook, allocation in terms of how, when you go to Facebook, what really happens. And then there is the repetition control flow. So let's get started.
Hello there. If you have enjoyed this course so far, kindly support me and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe will also help you know when newer courses are released. Thank you for subscribing. I do hope you have. Let's carry on with the course.
For the sequential, this is the Python default way of executing a piece of code. We are not adding any conditional statement. In this case, we have just declared a variable, assign it to 100, another variable, assign it to 34, and we are doing a subtraction. And, it just starts with this line, num1, num2, and then it goes to the new num and does this. So imagine that I put another code base here, and I say num3 say let's say num is equals to num4 minus num5. You can see that it's already telling me that it's not defined, right? And let's say now do num4 equals 34, num5 equals 2. It still says, I don't know what you're saying because num4 has not been defined. Why is this? Because in the sequential order, I have not declared num4, I have not declared num5, but I'm trying to use them to do something here. So Python tells me, well, in my sequential order, because I run my code from the beginning to the end, I don't understand what you mean. But you see that as soon as I change that, that works. Like as soon as I change the order, the sequence that it should, the right sequence that it should follow, that error is gone. So that is an example of, the default way of executing a piece of code. Now in the selection decision control, there are different conditions to it. So remember when I was mentioning the Facebook, idea, I was saying there are statements like if, these conditions are met, take them to this page. If else, like if this condition is met, take them to this page. Else, if that condition is not met, that is, there's a mismatch in the login credentials, take them to this stage. And then there are like certain cases where you have, if this condition is met, do this. Else, if this other condition is met, do this. Otherwise, if the first if and the second other else if condition is not met, then you need to do this. And then we have what we call nested if as well, where you have many ifs, like if A, go to B, if B, go to C, if C, go to E, that's what we call the nested if. So let's look at the if statements. Like I said, there's a condition. If the condition is true, there is a code. If the condition is false, there is another code for that.